They handcuffed my 78-year-old father right there on the bank of the lake his own grandfather carved out by hand a century ago. Two armed guards, stiff-backed, dragged him off the land I just inherited, our 300 acres, and that sapphire-blue private lake, all because he walked out to the old fishing dock he helped build when he was just a boy. My dad spent his whole life here. Raised half the neighborhood on stories, taught kids to fish for bluegill on our dock, never once caused trouble. And now in front of everyone he's known for decades, he's marched away in cuffs, shaking hands locked behind his back like a criminal. It gets worse. This all started the day Bethany Cromwell rolled into town. Fresh out of California, new HOA president, some hotshot real estate lawyer, 6 months in Virginia, and suddenly acting like she owns the place. I still remember her perfume fighting with the scent of pine and lake mud, standing at our front door waving a stack of legal threats. Our private lake now belongs to the community, she declared, smiling like she's doing us a favor. Next thing I know, Dad's being booked for trespassing on the land that's been in our family since Calvin Coolidge was president. 50 years before her HOA even existed. I watched those cuffs snap on his wrists, and I swear the echo of that metal click traveled clear across the water right through me. That's when I realized they'd picked a fight with the wrong family. Next morning, every single faucet in Willowbrook Estates ran dry. But let me back up. My name's Jackson Ridge. I'm 45, Army Corps of Engineers for 20 years, and last year I came home to Virginia, back to the land my grandfather Earl bought for $800 cash in 1923. 300 acres of hills and forest, a 40-acre lake they call Lake Serenity. I grew up with the musty smell of courthouse records, learned the original deed by heart. Grandpa spent 3 years digging those channels himself, building up stone walls, creating a fishing hole that became the heart of 3 counties. My dad Harlan worked this place for 50 years after Earl passed. He never once charged neighbors to fish or swim or picnic. Kids' laughter was the sound of summer out here. He always said, good neighbors make good communities. That's how we lived until the California folks showed up. In 2019, some development company bought the land next door, threw up 847 luxury homes, promised exclusive lakefront living, using photos of our lake in their glossy brochures. For a while, it was just background noise. Then Bethany Cromwell became HOA president, and everything changed. She rolled up in a Tesla custom plates and all pretending to be friendly. Mr. Ridge, she purred. We need to discuss our access situation. What she meant was, pay the HOA $50,000 and $500 a month or lose your lake. She quoted some obscure county ordinance, tried to sound official, but Dad just smiled and told her our property predated their entire development. That's when her mask slipped. Times have changed, sir. Maybe it's time you changed with them. She stalked back to her car, heels crunching on our gravel like a warning. 2 days later, a county inspector showed up, anonymous complaints, supposed environmental hazards. Nothing stuck, but the harassment had begun. Dad's blood pressure spiked. Doctor told him it was stress, but nobody could fix that. 3 weeks later, she humiliated him. At an HOA meeting, stood there and told 200 neighbors he was hoarding resources and maybe should be in assisted living. She said it with a smile, like she was sending a thank you note. Dad was crushed, and that night I found him sitting alone on the dock at 3 a.m., staring at the water his own grandfather gave to this place. She's gonna take it all, isn't she, son? That's when I knew we weren't dealing with a neighbor. Bethany had declared war. She moved fast, filed an emergency injunction, argued in county court that because Willowbrook residents had used our lake for 4 years, they'd earned adverse possession rights. Army Corps training kicked in. I knew if you let people use your land without formal permission, you could lose it. Dad's handshake deal suddenly looked like a trap. 3 days later, she brought in a shady surveyor, hammered new stakes into our shoreline, claimed the lake was partly community easement. Diesel fumes and lake mist toxic together. The survey omitted the natural spring system that feeds our lake. Any real engineer would spot it, but accuracy wasn't the point. Bethany just wanted ammunition. Then she held a press conference on our beach-invited TV crews to witness environmental violations by an elderly hoarder. She set up folding chairs, played the victim, made it look like we were denying water to children. The audacity was breathtaking, a burglar giving a speech in your living room. Here's the twist. While digging through county records, I overheard Bethany on her phone hissing behind her Tesla. The environmental angle isn't working fast enough. I need that lake drained and prepped for construction by spring. We're committed now. My blood ran cold. This wasn't about the community. Bethany had already taken developer money. She was about to destroy Lake Serenity for a golf course. Old man's practically dead anyway, she whispered. We just need to accelerate the timeline. Maybe more regulatory pressure. That was it. She was trying to kill my father with paperwork, not a legal dispute. This was murder by bureaucracy. But she didn't understand the land. Our lake is gravity-fed by underground springs that also feed every well in Willowbrook. You cut us off, they lose water within hours. My grandfather's engineering ran deeper than Bethany's threats ever could. Dad and I walked the property that night, flashlights tracing the old stone channels. Your grandfather was a genius, I told him. He built this valley's entire water system. Dad just smiled, first time in weeks. Water flows to those who understand it, son. Maybe it's time Bethany learned that lesson. Next morning, Bethany tried to have our land seized through eminent domain, bribed the county assessor for a bogus public hazard report. But every fake document she filed was another piece of evidence for our countersuit. She was building her own coffin, one forged paper at a time. You know what, old man, I said, pouring Dad coffee while the lake glimmered outside. Let's remind Ms. Cromwell where her water really comes from. Sometimes the best revenge is just turning off the tap. Bethany doubled down on petition drives at the grocery store, accusing us of hoarding whisper campaigns about unpaid taxes and environmental damage, even rumors I was a dangerous veteran with PTSD. That one really burned. After 20 years serving my country, some carpetbagger lawyer was calling me a threat just because I wouldn't give up my home. But here's where karma steps in. The maintenance guy, Cisco Valdez, had had enough of Bethany's bullying. Over burnt coffee at Murphy's Diner, he told me how she threatened residents with $15,000 in landscape fines, sent bogus violation notices, mailbox too short, gnome in the garden, chalk drawings on sidewalks, all designed to scare people into silence. Then Cisco told me the bombshell Bethany's mortgage company was the same one pushing the golf course. Classic developer squeeze, use the HOA to force people out, then sell the land. City council meeting rolled around. Bethany strutted in with charts, graphs, photos, making our property look like Chernobyl. But the county water authority was already investigating her claims. Turns out someone had filed detailed reports about her fraud. Someone who knew the regs inside and out. After the meeting, neighbors started approaching me, Martha Henley, Sarah Kim, Bill Morrison. Quietly, they told me they'd never wanted this fight. That's when I realized Bethany mistook fear for loyalty. The community was waking up. Desperate Bethany filed a Clean Water Act complaint, staged a TV spectacle. Even had her consultant, her own lawn guy, by the way, dump motor oil near our lake for the cameras. Dr. Martinez, a real water scientist, exposed it in under 48 hours. Suddenly, local news was retracting their stories. The truth was out. Bethany was a fraud. Neighbors met at the community center, 57 people, this time stories flying about her threats and embezzlement. Military veterans rallied. She'd tried to paint me as a threat, but she only rallied the brotherhood. The recall petition snowballed. Now Bethany was trapped. She filed restraining orders called Adult Protective Services on Dad, spread more lies. But with every move, she looked more desperate. She even tried to have us banned from our own land by calling the water system a weapon of mass destruction. But while digging through Dad's old fishing licenses, I found a yellowed envelope, Grandpa Earl's original 1923 water rights easement, granting our family exclusive control of all water within 5 miles, ironclad, predating any HOA, any zoning law. In Earl's handwriting, if someone ever tries to steal what we built, the master valve is behind the lightning split oak. That valve didn't just control the lake, it controlled every drop of water in Willowbrook. But with power comes responsibility. Dad always said real power isn't what you can do, but knowing when not to. We made a plan, no innocent casualties. Camera set, legal team prepped, Dr. Martinez ready with her environmental report. Friday, the showdown. Bethany, in her rented limo and designer suit, presented her solution, turning Lake Serenity into a golf course condo's clubhouse. She claimed we were hoarding resources. That's when I stood up, handed the original deed to the county attorney and said, "Let's show who controls your water." Cisco at the valve cut the flow. Every faucet, every sprinkler, every toilet in Willowbrook sputtered and died. The room went silent. "This is what happens when you try to steal water from those who control the well," I said, then had Cisco turn it back on, full pressure restored. The crowd erupted. But justice wasn't done. FBI agents entered with warrants. Bethany was arrested for fraud, embezzlement, filing false reports. The woman who terrorized us was led away in handcuffs the same way she had Dad dragged off that dock. 6 months later, Bethany was in federal prison, ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution. The HOA board was rebuilt, illegal fees, refunded, the community pool fixed, the playground expanded, Dad's health came back. He's out on the dock most mornings teaching the next generation to fish. We set up a foundation with the settlement. Money First scholarship went to Emma Kim, now studying environmental law to protect water rights. Lake Serenity was named a county environmental protection zone. Tourism boomed. Every Lake Day festival, families come together to celebrate the water that outlasted greed. I'm running for county commissioner now, standing up for people who face bullies hiding behind HOA boards. Our story is inspiring new laws, new lawsuits, new defenses. Every sunset over Lake Serenity reminds me sometimes you have to fight for what's right, not just for yourself, but for everyone after you. Here's what sticks with me. Bethany thought rules didn't apply to her, thought she could wear us down. But she never understood when you mess with a family that actually knows the land you're in for a rude awakening. Maybe you've met people like that, think they own the world just because someone gave them a little authority. Makes you wonder, where's the line between power and justice? So let me ask, have you ever had to stand up to a bully who thought the rules didn't apply to them? Drop your story below, and if you believe justice should still mean something, let me know what you'd have done if you were in my boots.